Hello everyone. Welcome to the YouTube Mile Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mile railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mile Builders, eMag, and the YouTube Mile Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to Thursday night hangout show, live chat, whatever. Anyway, I'm kind of running on one leg here, so I got a few other people going to be watching the chat for me because I can't do that. All I can do is just put this out here on the stream, so hopefully everybody's hearing me okay and you can see the pier. Andy, if you'll let me know if it's coming out okay. I am totally blind here. All I can do is watch the pier.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye.
But
you're all right so far.
Me too.
Yeah, my monitor, one of my monitors died last night, so I'm down to one monitor, so keep y'all from seeing everything that I'm doing in the background. I'm just keeping this one monitor up for the show, so let's see what we've been going on. So what kind of progress you been making, Chris?
None.
I mean, well, I'm looking at Robert and I said Chris. I meant Robert. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
I don't know if I think I took offense to that, Johnny.
Come on, you're my brother from another mother.
Lots of progress. Well, of course.
He thinks he does. He's not sure.
So, Torren tried to tell you all this on the last live show, but definitely not sure. Tore down the table layout, saved all the wood I could get, switched over to shelf layout. Gonna do double tier with a peninsula on the top level.
They converted.
So I have it all made up, built out. Now I just got to fill the holes.
And converted to Idiot 3, right? I think not.
Yeah, I lost your audio altogether there, Robert.
No, I went over to two.
I think he's saying he went to T-Rail low scale.
I think so. It's been a running joke. It's just a running joke until we convert Chris.
I will get my revenge. I always do.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, for right now.
Yeah, for right now.
Did you say you were converting to 3-rail O scale? I'm very proud of you.
No, I'm converting to 2-rail O scale because I want it to be prototypical, not like those weird 3-rail guys.
Oh boy, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Pretty sure we already went there, bro. Just saying.
Oh, we've lived down in that rabbit hole for a number of weeks.
Oh yeah.
We moved in.
Set up shop. Even bought a refrigerator. No, still HO. Although I did take my wife over to the Fern Creek and Western Garden Railroad in Santa Cruz last weekend, and she got bit by the bug. So,
Is that right?
yeah, when we actually get our own property and have a big size backyard, we're gonna do G scale out there.
Okay. I can see that happening. That happens to a lot of our ladies in the hobby, it seems. That's what, like, there's a lot that kind of get into the bug. I mean, it's gardening,
Yeah.
with a splash of something, interesting in it. So,
well, it's the perfect melding of our two hobbies. She loves the garden and I love the railroad, so it just works.
It's a fascinating way to do it. I would like to do some outdoor stuff. When I build a new house, I have every intention of doing some outdoor stuff. But I think I want to do O-scale 2 rail outside. And I would joke at Chris's expense plenty, but I'm dead serious. In Britain, they do a lot of O-scale 2 rail outside.
I was gonna say, he did say 2 rail, not 3.
I do 2 rail. I do 2 rail outside. I don't know what I would do exactly, but you see a lot of the British guys, European modelers rather. Heck, they do double O outside. The very near equivalent to our HO scale. Some of the Aussies do that. What's that fellow's name, Johnny? Does the double O, or the HO scale outside in Australia?
Oh, John.
Yeah, he's got a very cool outdoor layout. I mean, it's reasonably significant outdoor layout. And he's running big boys and up on a big platform outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why O versus G?
For wood, you can fit and run much larger trades and at much more reasonable cost. And my instinct was I would run, so my layout will be in the basement of the new house, but I want to do the O-scale 2 rail outside because I love O-scale 2 rail anyway. I do. But then I could also incorporate it, bring it inside, run it down one wall of the living room or something. I had this idea of doing this kind of inset into the wall of an interesting scene. I'd even thought about doing that little thing that I was drawing for the other day, that 3 little loops thing on the end thing, so that it would be at a reasonable level, but then you do these 3 little loops to get up to a narrow gauge, and then do a narrow gauge around the edge of the cylinder on a narrow shelf like the Bob did. But do like an OM3 up there.
Jerry Ashley said, dig into your petty cash and go with live steam.
I could see the appeal of that, but that hobby, there's so many hobbies that are intermixed with ours, and it's really easy to get into laser cutting and lose the model railroading hobby, or to get into photography and diminish the modeling part of our hobby in favor of being a photographer or a computer programmer or a operator or all these various things. And I don't want to, even though I bought my CNC mill, I don't want any one thing to diminish the modeling. That's the modeling and operations collaboration together. That's forefront. Anything that destroys that for me.
I have a friend who got decided to go into model railroading business.
Chris Hiley.
The hobby for him. He's still.
Chris Healy, you need to refresh your audio shot.
It's on your guys' end.
Oh, and the Bob just stuck it on us anyway. I was just,
Yeah,
No,
hey,
he was breaking up on my end too.
You there, Bob? How about it, Chris? Your audio still? We can't hear you if you're talking. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm in here.
You can't hear me?
Hey,
I can hear you.
I can hear you. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Area. Just being Chris.
He's talking about Holly.
Oh, Highway's gone.
Well, who's in here with audio only?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I want to try and keep the cameras on.
Getting there.
More hamsters.
More hamsters.
Or quarters.
Got gerbils and all sorts of farm animals in here working on it.
How's your tree project been coming along?
Slow. I've been distracted with a few things.
Yes, you have, as we've been catching up. But trees are just a slow project. That's just par for the course. What's up, Ralph?
Yep.
All right. We got Ralph back.
Yep. I'm here.
And Chris is back.
So why is my video not working? Figures.
Trying to talk, Chris? We can't hear you.
No.
Nah.
Yeah, lost.
Well, thought I had you there for a second.
Back to my camera. Well, the tree project's been a little on hold at the moment.
Alright. Was that?
No.
No.
No. You may have to try refreshing again.
Might want to turn your video quality down too if it's taking your. Yeah, I think he's having internet issues.
It ain't computer issues anymore.
I don't think so.
No. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's still robotic.
Mr.
Yeah.
Robot. Almost a cut.
Have you got any work done on your scenery project you've been working on, or just the traveling around the shows just taking it out of you, Bob?
Yeah, pretty much. Traveling, the getting home and fixing everything that's broke when I get here. Yeah. It's been a little busy. Whew.
Oh, by the way, was you going to try and come to the Fine Scale show or Pennsylvania?
Probably not.
Okay.
I got so much going on at work, and and money wise, I probably shouldn't take two trips back to back so quickly. I spent, I don't know, $4,000 in about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like fun, I guess, but
Yeah, I had to get a air conditioning pump or a compressor replaced. That was $1,200, cheap. But still, that's $1,200 I wasn't expecting.
On the house?
Yeah. And then, well, the $1,500 one way to Florida with the rental of the trailer, and then the train show, and then the trip all the way back. 3,189 miles later, I'm home. So, and then it's like, okay, I gotta make a video. Oh, I gotta make another video. Oh, hey, I got something else I gotta make a video for. You know, bing, bang, boom. So yeah, a little busy trying to catch up and doing all sorts of stuff. Oh, and then my air conditioning started leaking upstairs yesterday, or a couple days ago. So it was dripping down through the upstairs into the air conditioning in the basement. And I thought it was leaking from in the basement one. Like, get up on top and I feel this water on top. Like, no, that's leaking from upstairs. The drain from upstairs was plugged. So it comes down all the way underneath the floor and then down to the basement drain. So I had to fish that out with a snake yesterday. So I'm wore out.
Yeah, the AC guys tell me about once a month pour a cup of Clorox down through there to keep that line clear.
Yeah.
Keep algae from growing in it too.
Yeah, there was a lot of sludge in there.
Yeah. So once you get it cleaned out, you may want to do that just about once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Pour some Clorox down through there because it keeps water in it anyway. So.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
only in the trap, so you might want to dilute it with a little bit. Do a cup and a half cup of Clorox and maybe a quarter cup of water, a half cup of water with it.
Yeah. This one doesn't really have a trap in it. It's just more of a straight drain, but I think it's more horizontal for about 6-7 feet. So it just kind of collects right there.
Yeah, because mine's right here in the basement. It just goes straight to the pump. And I've got a little opening in the pump. I just pour stuff in there and let it pump it out. Because whenever it gets so full of condensation, it pumps.
Yeah, I don't got that kind of, just more of a gravity drain system. I was looking online, all these newfangled furnaces and everything else have all these different kind of things. You have a trap in there and everything else. Like, it doesn't look like mine. No.
Yeah, mine's got a trap because it's got to sit 2 feet, about 2 feet off the floor. And, the drain goes down, the pump is down on the floor.
Yeah. My drain is right on top of the furnace, right out of the condenser, so it just comes right out the side.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't have to go through the furnace or nothing, so it's just drain it out when it's full.
You're right. Guess we need to get back to talking railroading.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I got to give a trip report for the train show.
Yes, sir.
So I knew it was going to be small, and I'd heard some things that a lot of manufacturers not going to be showing up, and it was true. There was a few that were not there. Actually, probably a lot that weren't there. NCE wasn't there. BLI wasn't there. BLI actually is about an hour away from the venue, but he was having a family emergency with his wife being sick, so he elected not to go to the show. So that's why they didn't show. Otherwise, they would have been there. He missed the N scale one as well. So.
But BLI didn't make it to the NRA National.
Right. And it's understandable. I mean, family things happen. They come take priority. But see, NCE wasn't there.
That's
one of the recognized. There's a bunch of others that I probably don't really remember off the top of my head. But yeah.
Digitrax, was they there? Or?
N-Track, or Fast Tracks was not there.
No, Digitrax.
Oh, Digitrax was there. Yes.
Yeah. Because they're on down around Fort Myers.
Yeah, well, or Panama City, actually. So, let's see. So I get there, and the venue is probably the worst venue I have ever seen in building design whatsoever. It's fine for hotels. It's fine for the entertainment side of the street in front of the venue. But who's going to walk all the way there? You're coming in from all sorts of places. You want to drive and park. Well, the parking's in the back of the building where the loading docks are. So you have this really long building that's probably, 1,000 yards wide. And you have to sit there and figure out how to get in the building first, because there's only one entrance in the back of the building that's right there in the middle. So you walk across this little walkway, you walk into the building, and you get in there, and there's 2 escalators, one on the left, one on the right, and which one am I going to go up? So you go up the escalator. There's no doors on the first floor whatsoever, because what you're doing is you're going up over the top of other meeting rooms, and you're walking across the top of that. And it's kind of two-story meeting room areas and everything. No real signs of where it is. No good map. There's one thing, oh hey, model railroad thing. Didn't tell you where. Like, well, which one is it in? Well, I ended up going into the other side of the building. So here I'm walking around going, okay, find the middle. Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, and walking all the way down. I started off in the A side, and we're all the way down in the E side on the other end of the building. Like, great. So I find it. No air conditioning in there whatsoever because, well, they had all the doors open. This is, you know, Thursday before the show opens. I'm walking around and talking to people and stuff while they're loading stuff in there. Like, boy, I hope the air conditioning works. Well, it did. You know, they cooled it off, but all these people trying to set up everything was about 95 degrees plus the humidity inside the room. So it was kind of nasty. So I'm looking around like, boy, there's a lot of empty space. I hope more people are showing up. It's like, nope, this is it. It's like, there's a quarter of this room not even filled up. A quarter. And then what do they fill it with? Chairs and tables, which nobody sat at most of the time. Because there wasn't a lot of people there to sit and have lunch, you know, or something. But it looked really small. I was not impressed. I mean, Indianapolis was a lot bigger, had a lot more layouts there, a lot more. All the manufacturers were there, so it was just kind of it was kind of a downer. But I kind of expected that, and so, you know, I didn't see everything. I have to admit, I did not look at every single booth because it was just, you know, some stuff just didn't appeal to me at all. You know, there's this one group comes in there and they're selling wireless headphones or something, and like cell phone covers and stuff. I'm like, why are you at a train show? And they had no model railroad stuff, nobody cared, and they're pestering everybody that walked by. You know, hey, try this out. You would love in this. You know, these Middle Eastern guys just trying to, you know, hawk this crap.
Weird.
And I was like, I don't even want to go near you. You know, they're all slicked up, their hair and everything else look like, you know,
Fast Eddie salesman.
Yeah, like Fast Eddie guys down here in New York City or whatever, and, you know, hawking stuff on the sidewalk or whatever. And I was like, ow. Okay, they shouldn't even be here. But they paid for a booth space. And I got, apparently that's how they kind of work the trade shows. They just jump in on whatever convention's coming through and hawk their stuff, and pay for the space. So
I didn't see.
They had two of them.
I didn't
Same
see
company.
that.
You didn't see them?
I didn't see Florida being a good convention location for the Nationals anyway.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is I was talking to a few people who are up in the convention side. I think one of the NMRA presidents was in there talking about a lot of the venue problems, and you know, it's always an issue when you try to have a West Coast or East Coast convention and train show. You lose half the country because a lot of them aren't going to fly all the way over to the other side if they don't have the money. And a lot of them drive, or they'll bring, you know, they're selling stuff. You know, they're just not going to drive that far. So, you know, it's not worth it. And then they make, you know, small space.
Even though we got a lot of the older guys that have been in the hobby up there, there's not that much let's say, space for a layout. They're mostly garage layouts anyway. There wasn't going to be any much operating layouts anyway for operating sessions and stuff.
Right.
It wasn't that. I thought they would be better just to try to get down more towards like Georgia or Alabama than up in Florida, even though you got Disney and everything. And
there really isn't anything in Alabama that people want to go see.
Hey,
for a venue.
There's lots of Furnace, Birmingham, and the railroads out there, and the Railroad Dixie Railroad Museum. And, sorry, my dad's from Alabama.
I'm just kidding with you. But even that, it's probably not a big draw location, and that's usually what ends up getting a lot of attention when you try to host one of these.
Yeah, I see Kansas being a big success, and the Cleveland convention that was in our area when we hosted it in Cleveland, it was really big though. I didn't see the Florida location being that good.
Yeah, the Cleveland one was good. It was bigger, at a big convention hall for the train show, and I thought that was my first one I went to, so that was that's what I'm gauging everything off of right now. Indianapolis was slightly smaller, but it was still well laid out. I actually thought the floor plan at Indianapolis was excellent, the way they had it arranged. This one here was just kind of, it was okay, but when you got half the room is vendors and the other half is layouts,
So,
another part is just the people selling stuff.
Did you actually go to the Nationals, or did you convention, or did you just go to the National Train Show?
I just went to the train show, but I walked around inside at the convention and talked to some people there, and talked to the guy that's holding the Kansas City one next year.
Yeah, I have more fun at the convention. It really, convention was the fun part for me, and with the layouts and everything, going to see layouts and different stuff and operating sessions. And then the train show itself, because it was just a giant, overpriced train show that I would normally go to in this area. Halftime giant and just a big ripoff.
Right. I mean, I kept running into Cody Grifno and David Popp from Model Railroader. I mean, I would turn around and there they are again. And I ran into them at this restaurant. I left Friday and I go out to, actually not Friday, it was Thursday night. And I go out across the street to one of the little restaurant areas, and I was looking at this Italian restaurant. I'm walking in and walk those two guys for dinner. I'm like, wow. So we talk a little bit, and so I said, I'm not going to eat here. They don't have Italian stuff here. That's all Northern Italian, where it's, expensive seafood and some steaks. I wanted lasagna. Didn't have any. So I go off and eat somewhere else, and I go back to the parking garage. I'm pulling out of the parking garage area, and there's David and Cody right there on the corner, and roll down the window. How come I keep running into you? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. My favorite part was the Cleveland convention. I always was a big fan of Tony Custer and the more than the actual magazine between the Tony and who was the old opposite guy who passed away, Andy.
Gribner.
Not that Andy.
Sparandio.
Yeah, Sparandio.
That was actually, he was my favorite guy on Model Railroader. So I got to sit with Tony Custard and the guy that is now again the editor of the OPSIC and everything for lunch. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah. Then I kept bumping into him at the train show the next couple days, and that kind of stuff. We had some good laughs about it. I said, I swear I'm not stalking you, Cody. He goes, yeah, what's the deal? You have to turn around. There you are. It's like, I'm not following you, really. So, but yeah, I did run into Lionel Strang.
Okay.
And I did an interview with him. He interviewed me actually. I didn't do it the other way around, but so at some point I'll end up on the podcast maybe.
Good.
Okay.
We'll see.
And
You
then,
did mention YouTube Model Builders, right?
He's a supporter, believe
I think
it
so.
or
I did.
not.
Yeah, it was a lot of times it was talking about James and YN
Yeah.
scale and a few things like that.
did he ask why the dead parts is running joke? After
No.
he, then okay. So
I actually don't listen to his podcast, but I know who he is.
he yeah, the one I was at the cleaning convention, and that was the last one I went to. That was the one I went to. I was going the opposite direction in the crowd of the train show, and I saw Lionel String going the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could talk to him. I would ask him about his favorite model rail radio. It was at turn. I forget what the episode's called, like the round turn or something. Though it's a talk. It's all about. It's mainly. There's one part about Lionel String talking about him and hosting operating sessions.
Hmm.
So yeah. So did you talk to the MR, the Cody and them about? Did you mention about YouTube Model Builders at all, or no?
No, they do know about us here in this group. So it's not really smart to talk about somebody else's business. That's competing against them.
Or go right up to Neil Borganoff with a YouTube Model Builder shirt on either.
Yeah,
Like I did at the Indianapolis show.
Yeah, that's how John.
Yeah, no, we talk, and they do know that we exist, and but it's more of right now they're pretty much competing probably with YouTube for viewers and readership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're losing a lot of business to us.
Well, Video Plus, YouTube in general, Video Plus is not, but
Yeah.
I mean, Video Plus has like a couple videos a month. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. The key to any of those things is frequency. If you drop a video a month, or a couple videos a month, then anybody who has a subscription is going to come back every couple months. If they realize there's not a lot happening there, they'll come back every couple months. They're like, well, there's one video I want to watch, and then they're going to say, well, when was the last time I did it? It was like 3 months ago. Why am I still paying this money? They'll cancel that. Frequency is what keeps people going. Same with your Netflix account. Same thing happened. If you sat down and said, I've watched Netflix in 6 months, why would you pay it? It's not much money, but if you're not using it.
Yep.
Yeah, with they really are competing with YouTube and us and YouTube Model Builders, and we also have a free magazine. You kind of thinking about it, we're competing with them, MRH, Trainmaster, and what's the other guys? With the
Model Railroader Hobbyist.
Monroe Caveat.
Academy. But you've got to
Academy?
distinctly divide the Video Plus, which is just ancillary, sorry, just an ancillary thing. But their bread and butter is a publishing company. So the magazine and books as well, and Model Railroad Hobbyist is really the one that you want to mess with Combach. You show up with an MRH T-shirt on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the one to be afraid of. If I was Combach, very, very afraid of MRH. Anybody who can sell a product for free, well, sell's the wrong word, give away a product for free, that most of us would say is a far superior product.
Yeah, MRH, yeah.
MRH is the best model railroad, in my opinion. MRH is the best model railroad magazine we've ever had in the history of the hobby, and you know, I used to get Mainline Modeler and, you know, various different magazines and some scale-specific ones. Model Railroad Hobbyist is the best thing we've ever had in the and I like RMC, Railroad Model Craftsman. I think that's a great magazine. And if you're a craftsman, it's got, you know, plans and stuff like that. RMC is a first-class magazine too. But boy, MRH is something.
Yeah, and
Time out.
so there's nobody really good O-gauge.
All right, we got a question here.
Jerry in the chat is saying that most of the videos on Academy he purchased through his club or the club years ago. So it's not new videos that they've got in that Model Railroad Academy.
Nope, none of it is. The only reason that Model Railroad Academy makes any sense at all is that you can buy it for like $4 a year.
That's when it's on special.
Yeah, but you just wait for.
Otherwise, it's 15.
Well, actually, if you look at their pricing, it's like 50 a year, $49.99. And mine just happened to I don't know when mine canceled because I don't go back and look very often. And mine just happened to cancel, so I went and searched my email in the junk folder for all that spam crap they sent me that I never know about.
Yep.
Found one of them, copied the code out of there, paid the $4. If I could pay $4 a year, I'll keep it at Model Railroad Academy and have all those videos from Keller. They were good, but they are decades old. I mean, decades old. You go back and look at, you know, George Celios is a young man with a full head of bright black hair on it, you know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Ari says that he only buys Model Railroader if there's good articles in it.
Yeah, I get the electronic copy, and that's a little more.
Yeah, I go to the library.
I don't want a paper magazine.
I'll pick it up at the store, thumb through a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks. Put it back down.
Yeah.
Problem is when it comes to magazines, and this is something that I think Joe Fugate obviously knew because he was in the IT space, in the computer technology professional space like I do. And if you really want something, and the only way to get it is a magazine that costs you money, you pay it. And that's what Model Railroad had for a long time. But when you could just go Google it and go find it in documentation, if not video, why in the world would you pay for it? And that's why Model Railroad Hobbyist is free for that reason and ad sponsored, just like Google. Google search isn't free. You're just not paying for it. The advertisers are.
Yeah, and the only thing they do have for free for new is their live show on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, I can't make it through one of those.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's two guys. It's two people for an hour and a half answering questions that somebody posted online, which is not that dissimilar to what we do necessarily sometimes. Like, you know, here we answer questions and stuff, but it's not just a Q&A, you know, and there's always a whole bunch of us characters on. I don't know. I just can't make it through an hour and a half of it.
No, I can't either. So, yeah, so there's nobody really good in, I know of, though I'm not really big into O-Gauge anymore, as magazine-wise or anything. There's nobody really good in magazines much. Maybe OGR.
Yeah, it's a pretty good magazine. Or it used to be a pretty good magazine.
It is an excellent magazine.
Yeah, it's owned locally here, actually. And he is a railroader guy that did it, so...
And the
I actually was in OGR, actually.
Where the narrow gauge and short line Gazette is not completely, but a lot of what's there is O scale, ON3, you know, ON30, ON3, SN3, little H03, but a lot of those guys are modeling at the larger scales. So
yeah,
like I said, it's a great magazine. It's an expensive magazine.
And by the way, that's gone over to the same publishing house as Railroad Craftsman.
Oh, White River. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, one thing is, it depends on your preferences on magazine, what you like to read as well. Because for me, for modeling railroading, I'm not going to go into railroads, actual railroad magazine. So I would say Dispatcher or MRH are my two favorites. And anybody that doesn't know the Dispatcher, that's an OPSIC magazine.
Yeah, it's a more of a, what do you call that? I guess that you could call it a magazine, but I think of it as a
Newsletter.
yes, sir. It's a newsletter. It's small. It's fine. It's got interesting stuff in it. I like OPSIC.
Yeah, the Mile Railroad Craftsman and the Narrow Gauges are the two that I want to subscribe to next.
Yeah,
OPSIC's great, and it has a digital copy because I just don't want a pile of paper.
I don't either. If I want to keep the article, I'll save it.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple Jeff Bonza's articles on Arduino from MRH. I saved them, but like, you know, it's very rare that I want to save something from a magazine. Sometimes, especially unless it's an idea or something that I think I'm going to use later on.
yeah. I can say one good thing about Model Railroader is because one good thing I gotta say is I learned to read reading Model Railroader.
But the problem with Model Railroader, in my opinion, is they've kept the same target audience for all these years. That target audience is some guy who used to play with trades 30 years ago who happens to be walking by the newsstand and seeing it. That seems to be the audience. I'm not saying there's not stuff in there for serious railroaders in some way too, but all the cover articles, all the layouts they showcase are all layouts that are, I don't know, generally, okay, if you see a layout in Model Railroad Hobbyist, they tend to be pretty exceptional. There's a lot of layouts shown off in Model Railroader that are exceptional, that are great, but there's a lot of layouts that are far from exceptional, but they have moderately complete scenery.
Yeah, it all depends on what. Also, you gotta also think it depends on their editing staff and everything else, and then it also depends on what people send in as a magazine. Because there's been a couple of months that there has been no layouts in MRH stuff.
Yeah, that's not their focus so necessarily, but but Model Railroader, and I still get Model Railroader. I still have a digital subscription of it. I've been getting it for better part of 30 years or so. I'm not, ready to just throw it away. It's $5. So, but I can't tell you how many times it is that I hop into the app and realize it's been 3 or 4 months since I've went in and downloaded the magazines. And when a new one does come out, I can browse through the entire magazine and finish it in 10 minutes.
Yep.
The only thing, and that's, I agree with that. I go really fast. I sit down in the library and really fast. So I think the only 2 greatest magazines, really, actually 3, that Mara, and maybe even a little bit though, that Mara Kalmbach puts out is probably Great Model Railroader and Mara Track Planning, and then below that maybe Classic Trains. So mainly trains. Maybe
Classic Trains is terrible too.
So I like listening. The only thing I like about Classic Trains is the reading about the crews actually working on the railroad. So past that, nah, I don't really like it.
I think Planning is pretty good though. MRP, Model Railroad Planning, that's a pretty interesting magazine, but I can't. I really like track planning and that stuff. Anyways,
We got anything over in the Q&A? Anybody want to talk about anything over in the live chat?
Well, one thing I did see at the train show was the world's smallest train.
Yeah.
what scale?
It is 1/1000th.
Oh my!
Yes, it's called Nano trains. And you can go to nanotrains.com. You can buy these things. It's all run off magnetics.
Oh, you have to be.
And it's depending on which ones you get. There's some that are already prepackaged, designed for track. They run off maybe 9 volt or I think a 12 volt out. from a 110 converter, or you can get configurable track, so sectional track, and you get in somewhere around a 2-inch radius. You know, and these things just travel around, and there's about a 1-inch long strip. You can put anything on that strip. You can put little tiny train cars on there if you want. You know, you can make it out of you know, a 3D printed kind of train car, any color you want, and put these things on there and have your train going around. And they're adjustable, and it's all remote control. You can turn it on. They've got some products where they have a little train inside a globe, so like a snow globe kind of thing, going around a little mountain, you know. And they had one display at the train show that had horses glued to the top of these things, so you can use them for any scale really, as long as you can put something on it and kind of make it look like it's, you know, O scale. Put some people walking on there, put cars on it, or, you know, anything, make a street. So it was pretty neat to see. I was like, but they're a little expensive.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, go figure, you know.
Even Z scale's doggone expensive, let alone T scale or any of those. Surely that would have to be.
And the connectable track, you can actually lift it up at probably good 60, 70 degrees, and it'll all stick on there.
Yeah.
Travel around. Have it go up the wall if you want.
I remember
it was interesting.
Heiko or somebody had a train back, you know, a train
Yeah.
back in the day that was, you know, futuristic or whatever, that did that. It was,
Yep.
when I was a kid, it was awful.
Yeah.
Your audio working now, Chris? No,
You
can't
can
hear
like
you. Check your mute button. Check the mute button.
On your headphones.
We got this one that's called Nano Kit Christmas. It's $8. You know, it's got a little track, oval track with 5 cars on it, all, you know, red and green, and the thing plays Christmas music as it goes around and stuff, so you can throw it into whatever you want, stuff like that. Or you can get the big set for $277. That's a sectional track, and they're working with the manufacturer to see what kind of things they probably could make. And the technology keeps changing all the time, so it keeps getting better and better. So we said, hey, we want 2-foot sections. You know, we want some flex track, if you can make flex track.
Yeah, that'd be.
You never know, but
A circuit. It's essentially an electrical circuit that's magnetic, that it travels to, or at least that's what it looks like to me. So
yeah, it's like a PCB board.
right, it's PCB. So in theory, you could take and print out a big PCB board that have whatever different track arrangement, basically going all over the place, and then you could design your track plate and set it however. That's kind of an interesting novelty.
Yeah. I think that you have to have rigid track, because the way the technology is, the magnets have to be in a certain place and a certain distance from the PC board in the right place so that it can move it, change the polarity of the magnetism. So you can't really have a flex track, I think. But we said, well, you know, we'll see.
Well, it makes sense.
But they wanted some longer pieces so they could make, you know, something larger if they needed to, without, you know, spending a huge amount of money on 6-inch piece sections. But yeah, it's got its promise there. You never know. So I'm running around in a cigar box and a little tiny briefcase and stuff like that. So it's in my video of the train show, the vendor's video.
Hey, I did see that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was probably the neatest thing I saw. And I think Walthers is coming out with its own train control systems for switching.
Switching.
Yeah, it looks like a
$24 a piece. It's more
Yeah.
expensive than Tortoise is.
and it doesn't even come with a case.
Ron Stranger Things said, I was going to say I must be the nostalgic one. I still subscribe to paper MR. Have since 96. Have never thrown one away. I know it's less than optimal, but I can't make myself stop like a crack. And then he also said, hey Bob, I really enjoyed your NMRA videos. Thanks for those of us who couldn't make it this year.
A lot of you couldn't make it because it was pretty dismal on Friday. Saturday got a little bit better. I could tell by about noon. About halfway through the show, it started picking up, but it wasn't as busy as it was in Indianapolis by far. Some strange people. I did run into this guy who was dressed in a kilt and I had bagpipes with him.
Huh.
I think I've seen him before though, but he's a smart guy.
That was my
Really
uncle.
smart.
That was my Uncle Bob.
Yeah. Your Uncle Bob. Huh? But yeah, well, I got pictures of him. I put them in my video too. But yeah, there's a lot of different nationalities at that train show because everybody's coming to Disney World. So I met people from Australia who watched my videos, and I think one guy was from Germany, another one from Austria. Oh man, yeah, a bunch of people. The T-Track people love me for some reason, and so okay, I'll do a video of your big layout.
Ron Stranger Things said, I saw that guy, the one in the bagpipe and kill playing in an empty parking lot in Springfield, Missouri last week. Missouri's ML, right?
Missouri, yeah.
Yeah. Quit laughing out loud.
Can't help but have a microphone. I have to laugh out loud.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a very interesting guy. He's from Austria. Yeah. It was all about interrogation with the Austrians. He was just he was going all off about interrogating people. He's really intelligent. Just a funny guy. We made Shane Wilson's kid almost pee his pants. Tell him things all about him that he didn't know. We got him scared, thinking, "Oh my God, how does he know this?" Just coming up with all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I know everybody who was looking for BLI to be there were pissed off because Scale Trains was in their space, according to the map. I was like, they didn't make it. They gave us their spot. You're supposed to be on the other side. You need to move. I'm like, no. Paper on this wall right here says that's where we belong. All these people were upset. So, oh well. And then the Great Western layout that I've shown in a few of my videos. It was at the Spring Creek Model Train Show for the past 2 years that it was there. I videotaped that and it was at the show. It was the only one I recognized because I'd seen it before, so I didn't really videotape it because I already got a bunch of it. They won Best of Show for some reason. I was like, okay, how'd they win Best of Show? Because there was some really good stuff over there that you know, like the mining scene that I have showing this old guy doing this, filling up all the cars and bringing it all the way up and down the track over the other side, and then dumping it into one car at a time, dumping it into a pit.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. I said, I got to film this whole thing. Everybody's got to see this. So I thought that was really good. So why didn't he win? You know, why did that layout kind of win a little bit? Because I don't know. So
I think for best of module, like the module show, it depends on if they're. I think with their what's his name said this before. It's if they're MRA member, they can only enter the track ranger or something like that, and then also it depends on the whole. I think depending on it, which if it was module layout or is it just the module it was judge. It could be in the whole layout one, and it'd be depending on the quality of the whole setup. Or and then there's just the module just qualified for this set. This was what's his name said this comes in here with all his modules.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
yeah, they were pretty much friends of Spring Creek model trains too.
We can hear you, but it's robotic. Maybe I need to change rooms for these shows.
Was the Hangouts better than this one, or?
Yeah. No, this is usually better than the Hangouts.
Well, change it to the.
How about now?
Yeah, it's still robotic. I mean, for most people, it works really great. We still have a few that have a little problem. Robert can be in the other room, the main room. He doesn't really have that many problems.
I do
Some
know
guy
I'm gonna get a new router.
the second I come in.
Yeah, so you can't understand what Robert's saying either.
Remember what you said the other day about loading the driver. So I just,
Yeah,
How about my mic? Does it sound the same or?
yeah, it's
No, you're
good.
good. You're good, Ralph.
Okay, then there's a thing in the chat here. Some guy in the chat. I have a collection of train magazines from 1940 to 2016. Some kid named Newcastle Railroad. Cone.
I do have a huge collection. I'm just giving a basic timeline because it does cover different time periods, and then we also have a huge collection at the museum as well.
I just read your statement, Josh.
Yeah.
So why'd you stop at 2016?
Yeah.
2017.
What's wrong with 2017?
Because I haven't got any of those yet from the guy that usually gives me all the training magazines. And what else? Oh, I stopped subscribing to Model Rotor last year or so. And I did just go into the library and reading them.
They still make them?
Yeah.
Library, that is.
Oh, library? Yeah, I go to the library all the time, glad. I go hang out. And the library over in Hudson actually has a cafe in it too, and it's also part of the historic society. It's huge buildings, huge collection. And I also collect Hardy Boys. I always request Hardy Boys books. So, another hobby of mine.
Joey White last. Library won't be around long.
You don't know that, Andy.
Well,
You're gonna give Josh nightmares tonight. You say that, Josh, you have nightmares tonight.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
It's not really any better.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Question from the chat. Opinions on roadbed. What's the best roadbed?
cement. Oh, train road.
Andy's trying to open a can of worms.
That's Bruce. That's the question.
I like the. I'm gonna use the Hobby Innovations one.
Is that the hobo bed? No, it's that foam stuff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a foam.
Probably for HO or anything, I would say probably cork or something, or because that's been used, and that's the only thing I really played around with in all the other stuff. Though for G-Cage, I've seen a lot is where people took like concrete blocks and then poured some like concrete in it and actually had the thing poured in, the track actually concrete in. So
let's find out what kind of roadbed he's talking about. You're talking outside concrete. Bruce, what kind of roadbed are we talking? What's your scale that you're building?
Hey,
that you're
Rod.
modeling?
Says he's headed toward cork. But yeah, what scale? And so there's three things that would decide, in my opinion, that would decide roadbed. What scale you're doing, what your sub roadbed is. Are you putting it on styrofoam? Are you putting it on plywood? Whatever. And what kind of track? Flex track with commercial turnouts, or fast tracks turnouts, or there's
Sectional track.
in scale inside. He says. So
N scale, huh? Well, I use a combination of cork and Woodland Scenics foam.
yeah, you really like that Woodland Scenics foam.
Black stuff?
Well, yeah, the black stuff. But it's not really being seen either. It's
That's
kinda
right.
up and above, but it denses out the sound vibration through the wood, and so I don't hear anything.
And you have it directly on wood. You don't use homosoda.
Right.
Or anything.
Right.
God.
Wow.
Andy, did you hear that?
Yep.
And you can always cover it up. Paint it, whatever. Put ballast down on it.
Yeah, foam's a little trickier with ballast, because with it moving and stretching and flexing, and you push down on the track, and as you clean your track and move it, you might get some cracks or whatever in it. But I mean, as long as it's a really dense foam. Now, they used to sell a foam 20 years ago that was really soft, and that's not. I mean, like the ties would sink up in it a little bit. Now, that I haven't played with the density of that Woodland City stuff. That stuff Ralph uses, which is piping insulation. Is that what that is?
Pipe wrap for air conditioning piping.
Yeah.
I think that's for flex track and
It's
commercial track work. That's killer.
It's glued on one side or gum backed. You just peel the paper back off and set it down where you want it on your line, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same as the Woodland Scenics. Except it's
Yeah.
it's a different material. It's more flexible, and there's no issues with cracks, because once you put ballast on, you're not going to see any cracks.
Well, we've all seen ballast on layouts that cracks and gets brittle and breaks away in sections. That it's fairly common. A cork shrieks or something. That happens. I'm not a big fan of cork because it dries.
Or homosote expands
Not much.
and then contracts, and then you got cork doing it at a different rate again.
Yeah, but homosote expands and contracts a lot less than plywood.
But the stuff that Bob's using and the stuff I use doesn't absorb moisture.
Yeah. True.
I'll grant you that. I like Hobosote real well, but you have to treat it with. Hobosote is not for everyone. It's not for most people.
It's not for, not for traveling layouts.
I love Hobosote, but it's.
Yeah, the stuff I'm planning on using, you could easily flex around curves, and you could buy bigger. You're not just limited to the pieces for the main line, or the. You could buy wider sections for like cork for the yards, and you could choose your thickness like cork. So I mean, it's all what your preferences are. I think. But it's slanted at the end, so you can easily abut. Pieces can easily abut together too.
You don't have a butt joint, you got more of an overlap joint. That's what you're talking about.
I think he's talking about it having the roadbed. It has the balance profile carved into it. So
Yeah.
Except, I've heard different about. You can take. I've heard guys laying track, HO scale track. They'll take an N scale cork and lay it down the way you get it out of the box. Don't split it.
Yep.
Because when you split it, that's where your 45 is.
Yep.
Lay it down the way it is. It's almost the same as your ties. And then you let the ballast fall and take its own slope.
I've done it with I used to use standard Midwest cork for the main line and the N-scale stuff for the siding. So it had a slightly dropped profile. And I did exactly like you're talking about. I either didn't split it, or if I did split it, I put the 45s back together if the curve was so tight it had to be split. But
That's how I did it on my HO layout.
yeah, I like doing that. That lets you have the effects I see on the less perfectly maintained roadbed profiles that I've always modeled. So,
Josh, you've got an HO scale layout?
He did, he tore it up.
I've never seen it.
He did have one. It's just single track over the top of his. Yeah.
I also had one before that too. I had a switching layout upstairs. I had a Lance Midheim design upstairs.
Lance Midheim's an N scale.
the Lance is HO.
Yeah. So it was the single industry concept.
Well, I mean, and Lance does stuff in various scales, I think, and professionally builds railroads. But his LAJ is that particular layout is a small HO scale layout, but his concept would apply to any, his minimalistic, if you will, concept should apply to any scale.
Bruce, get any kind of answer for his question? Or
Yeah,
had he comment?
But Steph, do more research. Bruce, it's really variable. And the problem is, there's 8 of us, so you ask the question, you'll get at least 9 opinions, possibly 11. I do love Hobosote, but if you're just laying flex track, cork is fine. The problem I have with it is it dries out over time, and it's hard to tear into if you like to make changes, and I tend to change things and change my mind. Otherwise, cork's fine. Does the job.
Yep. Like my friend of mine, he has a HO layout in a garage, and his whole layout is that Bachman track, that plastic one.
Easy track. Easy track.
Yeah, and he likes using that as a basis roadbed, and he put valves over it in some sections already.
Was he talking about using Hobosote on an N scale for the roadbed?
No, he's talking about doing it in scale, but he hasn't mentioned Hobosote so far.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
No, he was always leaning toward cork, and I would generally think Hobosote's appealing to most people. But
It's messy to cut.
I've never used Hobosote.
It's old
I
school.
can't buy it locally. I've never seen it in the store in this part of the Midwest anywhere ever for any purpose. So I'd have to order it and get it shipped in from somewhere, and it's just never been worth that kind of price.
Unless you've worked with
But,
it before and you know what to expect from it, you will not be happy the first time you use it.
That's probably.
what I've heard. Yeah.
But once you've used it and found the benefits of it, I've tried various things, and I haven't found anything that gives me the same massive sound. Okay, it's a sound deadening board. That's what it is.
Right.
It's not
Right.
cork for any other purpose. It's not foam for any other purpose. It's not nothing else. It was entirely developed to do sound deadening for music studios and for movie theater rooms and theater rooms. That's what it's for. And it does that job very, very admirably. And it's the most sound deadening thing there is. And if you lay out a piece of homosote and then go build a bunch of track work on something else, there is a distinct difference in the amount of sound that will propagate.
But
What about
there's a very large learning curve.
There is.
What about that?
Here's a kink that's kind of come into that sound deadening argument just a little bit over the last few years, and that is with the advent of sound decoders and sound on layout. Even at N-scale, some of my locomotives that I used to think were unbelievably loud going over the railroad, I don't even hear anymore over the sound of the sound decoder. So,
sure. Which I do turn my sound decoders down pretty significantly. So I have like a 5-foot rule, or the prof, when he's chiming into this stuff, he'll talk about scale sound. Professor,
right.
I don't want to hear a locomotive. I mean, if I'm the only one in the roadway train, sure, I will hear it all over, but it'll be weak somewhere else. I don't want the train to overpower the ambient sounds, the river sound effects, the birds chirping, the crickets, whatever. All the various sound effects that I'm going to have on my layout. So my sound effects are quite low. And where I hand lay track, and where I put notches in the rails every 5 inches, it could be fairly noisy.
Well, what about that stuff you were telling me about? The blackboard.
Yeah, blackboard is the Celotex blackboard. It's a sound deadening board too. I mean, it's put on. A lot of the reasons I like to use it in-house construction is because it adds like a couple R points, like R2 or something. It doesn't add much.
That's a construction product.
It is.
So is Homosoul.
Yeah.
Homosoul's a construction project.
Well, yeah, different kind of construction.
The black surface has a waterproof barrier.
Right.
Yeah. That's meant to deal with a little bit of humidity or a little bit of moisture.
It's meant to be a vapor barrier, it's not really waterproof, but it's meant to be a vapor barrier.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a good material. We built an entire layout out of it. One before us, and then we built all the roadbed, and we cut it in strips, and then we put a strip underneath it because it doesn't have a lot of rigidity. So instead of using plywood, we it was a 600-something foot long main line, double deck layout in a 20 by 80 room, and we did it with blackboard, Celotex blackboard, cut all the curves, and then put a strip of blackboard underneath it between the risers to give it some rigidity, and glued all that together. And I don't know how. I mean, it held up for the 5 or 6 years I was a member of the club. 5 years before I enlisted in service, and I seen it some years later, and it was still there. Seemed to be holding up. So I think I probably would have put it down on top of plywood, but
yeah, I haven't seen the Celotex board in a long time. Of course, I built homes for years, but that was a long time ago. That was 25 years ago. So admittedly, I'm not in the lumber yards that I used to be, but I don't see it in construction around here as often as I used to. So is it still as readily available as it used to be?
Not as much. 20 years ago, I was there was a time when I worked as a contractor for a while as well, and a carpenter for a while. Then later, running a company.
Right, I worked in my school doing career working.
Yeah, that's how I started a long time ago. And then, but every house back then had a sheet of plywood on either corner of the house, and then the rest of it was blackboard.
All Celotex, yeah.
Yeah, all Celotex. But when I'm seeing houses built these days, they're all OSB.
Right. Well, it's cheap and strong, and it's supposed to be fire retardant, theoretically.
Wrong.
The benefits.
Well, it's supposed to be.
No. Hate to tell you, it's not.
Well, I know it, but that's how it's marketed.
Yeah. You know all the hoops they make us jump through? They put firewalls in most of these banks that we work with. Our equipment has to be on the other side of it. It has to have 2 pieces of sheetrock on the wall instead of wood, because that's going to slow things down, anything significant. And if I run a wire through the wall, I have to caulk it with fire retardant caulk, which is, again, is that seriously going to stop a fire?
It's not supposed to stop the fire. It's supposed
Not
to
supposed
give
to
you
stop
time,
it, slow it
give you
down.
time for the occupants to get out of the building.
Yeah.
And to slow it down, they maintain the integrity of the building so people can get out.
Yeah, before it collapses. Speaking of the caulk, there's now for home theaters, and I used to kind of be more into the home theater, had a projector, all that stuff. And Home Soap was great for that. Now they have a caulk that is sound dampening caulk, and you can put your sheetrock up on the walls, then come back and use this caulk to put your shit. Well, I mean, it's like a liquid nails product. Whatever, spread it on, and with a finger trowel or something, spread it onto the back of the sheetrock and put it up, overlapping the gaps of the previous sheets. Put a couple screws in it to hold it down, and then take those screws back out so that it's just there, so it can. And it's supposed to be almost as sound deadening as Home Soap. And it's just a liquid nails product. So man could lay their track with that stuff. I do like the idea of laying track with caulk.
You can get Homosode at Lowe's and Menards, such and such. In Kansas City there, Ron, if you want to.
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're at, because down here in Georgia, yeah, it's getting pretty sparse. Even the pink foam is getting hard to get.
Yeah, the problem, it's funny how those products change. That extruded foam, when those products came out, you could buy that anywhere in any quantity and any size.
Yep.
And now, of course, you got to remember, I live in a small town, but I'm shopping in places like Springfield and Joplin, Missouri, and Sedalia, Missouri, and they may carry a few sheets of that just for people who do projects, but they just don't hardly carry it, and they act like it's going to be a time when you're not going to be able to get it easily locally here anyway.
Yeah.
And I hear people, further north say, "Oh yeah, it's plentiful," but Southwest Missouri, it's getting a little bit more and more scarce.
Yeah, because I know out there at the store, we built that HO layout, and we used nothing but 4x8 sheets of that 2-inch foam.
Right.
And we glued it with contact cement to 4x8 sheets of Luan plywood.
Right.
The 1/8 plywood. And that's been there now 6 years, almost 7. And where the sheets, butted up together, I've got as much as some places a 1/2-inch gap where the sheets have shrunk up.
That's right, but you come in with a little bit of spray foam, fill the gap back up, knock it off with saw, and seating over it. And they do shrink, but they're not going to shrink forever. They're going to shrink down, and then they'll be stationary the rest of their, shrinking's a part of it, but
yeah,
everything's got compromises to work with. I don't understand how the styrofoam could be on. I know it is. I understand. I'm hearing that same thing from people too. There's so many building products and methodologies that are just strictly not possible without extruded foam. Well, okay, they're not cost effective. Like a stucco, doing stucco is not very cost effective if you don't have extruded foam. You can't stucco over wood. It expands and contracts and pops the stucco. So you have to stucco over concrete block or concrete, or you got to stucco over extruded foam. So if you want to build a stucco house in a cost-effective way, you need extruded foam. So
you typically buy a special type of foam for that because of the fact that it already has the eyelets into it, so all they have to do is set it on the house and screw it in, I believe. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. You buy a special kind of foam, but you have to get the right fasteners for it.
yes, but it's regular pink extruded DuPont pink extruded, or at least
They use white here. They don't use pink here, but I could be wrong. I'm not a stucco expert.
Well, it
yeah.
just depends on the
I've got a
area.
couple. What?
It just
Sorry.
depends on the area, what the building codes are.
I've
But
always seen
anyway,
it done
we've
on.
got anything else left in the chat?
We've got a conversation going on about the cork and such for a little bit. Rod, what kind of track are you using on your layout?
Nothing very fancy. Pico Flex Track, Code 80 Flex Track.
Yeah.
That's probably my one biggest downfall on my layout is when I started building this one, I thought about going to a Code 55 track, but it was going to mean a massive either replacement or overhaul of all of my locomotives, and I just couldn't commit to that expense and time at that time, so I didn't do it.
Would they not run on the 55?
I've got some old locomotives that just have too big of flanges to run on Code 55. They're almost like a pizza cutter kind of an older Atlas locomotive.
Because the 80 has a lot of rail down in the tie. So
Right.
The Pico, that's what I like about the Pico. Well, I like a lot of things about the Pico, but that's one of the things I like about it is it's Code 80. It doesn't look like Code 80. It still looks oversized, but
yeah,
it looks as bad as like, an Atlas Code 80 where it all sits up on top of the ties.
But it doesn't look hugely oversized.
Right, yeah. It looks
Like
a
HO
whole lot
would.
better than the Atlas track, yeah. I used Atlas on my previous layout, and really I switched by accident. You become a creature of habit. I'd planned to use the Atlas again. When I started buying track here is when they had that big mess over in China with Atlas, and they couldn't get any of their products shipped over here. And I literally was a year and a half. I couldn't even buy a piece of Atlas Flex Track.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, I'll try some Pico. I used Pico turnouts forever, so I thought I'll just try Pico track, or I'll never look back,
Yeah, I'd gotten 100 pieces of Flex Track brand new on a website right before they started shipping stuff back.
Yeah.
So I found some. That was a good idea. But all of a sudden they started coming out, and then they raised the price. Like, what?
Right.
I got 300 pieces for $290.
$1 a stick.
Well, not 300. 300 feet. I had 100 pieces.
$3.
100 joints.
Yeah, $3 a stick. Yeah.
$3. Yeah.
At HO scale, I pay maybe not $5 a stick, but not far from it. But I like the microengineering stuff. It stays semi-rigid. So to me, a lot of people complain about it being harder to set. To me, it's infinitely easier to stand because I could just work my curve into it, and it'll sit there. It'll stay. It's not
The Pico is a lot better about that than the Atlas track. Atlas track is horrible to do that with. The Pico is better. It's just the way they cut the backs of their ties, I think, that makes a lot of difference on there. Now, it's not as rigid, obviously, as the microengineering is, but it's a whole lot easier to work with on curves and easements than the Atlas ever dreamed of.
Yeah, and there's in the HO space, I think is it Rapido that recently come out with a lot of flex track? I think it's Rapido. They call it bendy track.
Flexi track.
Like, okay, I knew it was something a little funny, kind of funny worded like that. Those guys are always up with some kind of character-based thing.
Surprised they didn't have a Star Trek symbol on it.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be somewhat semi-rigid, like microengineering, but not nearly as much so. It's supposed to be a cross between the two. You can bend it easily, but it's supposed to stay where you kind of set it.
So, Ralph,
Here?
I'm gonna screen share this if you can see this. This was my previous HO railroad. Can you see this?
You need to go. Yeah, there you go.
That's not a layout, that's a module.
It was a switching. See the switch list? And there's my and I actually had a track diagram. This was staging out here. And it was DC, team track, freight house. You switched it out, and there's my engine right there. That was my previous HO lab. And this was a non-served industry here. And there's a road crossing here. The train crews had to stop, make sure the crossing was clear and everything else. I actually hosted one operating. See, there it is, closer up. This is just something I was playing with, trying to test out scenery methods and everything else. Styrofoam, it was built on styrofoam and everything else, and there was a plastic built freight house that was sitting there, and a little station platform, and some stuff that was left over from the previous layout. That was my HO railroad that I had here. Then we go through all these pictures. I think, or no, it's here. There's when I was designing it, laying it out. Here's more close-up shot of the station at the freight house and team track, and I had a switch list that would follow, like, and it would tell me what cars to spot and everything else. We also including that, I also have the club layout that's HO. We have the club layout. Their staging, yard, different pass settings. And they're more of the HO layout at the club. They're New York Central Switcher military base. Actually, it's a reserve, not base. I also have a scenery diorama. I don't have pictures of it, though I do run it on our module layout with the club. And then here's the rest of our layout. We're having an open house that day. Our major one. There's our Santa Fe war bonds we're running. We're running that day. Some pictures of the horseshoe layout. And then this was my other HO layout I had here with the coal mine, and this will be rebuilt one of these days once I get my signal system up and running. This will be it was a Blue Coal Company. It was a prep. It was a prep plant. Different stuff. A breaker. It's a breaker. I had a breaker there, and then this was going to be where the coal came to there through the breaker, then to the coke ovens. That was going to be my operations on the HO. That's the O-gauge layout. There's some of my HO cars sitting up downtown right there. Free. I did have my HO layout.
I was just pulling your chain, Josh.
Yeah, but you know what happens?
I know. So now my question is, why are you not working in HO?
Because I originally started the base layout in O-gauge, and I'm going to try, and I have all the forces and this halfway.
Because we all know O-scale is better.
No, O-scale is not the best. I'm not going to say it's the best scale, and HO is not the best. Everybody's got a flaw and everything. So
It's because he's eliminated everything else.
This layout was already hosting operating sessions once I started getting an HO. And this is already laid down. I was starting to host operating sessions. I didn't feel like tearing it out and rechanging everything. I'm staying with O-gauge till I get this layout finished, and then I'm keeping it down here. When I ever move out, when I get older, I'll be building an HO layout. Also, all my HO engines are broke right now. I gotta buy new ones. Anyway, they're cheap.
So that means I have something to look forward to.
Well, I tell you what, we done hit the hour-and-a-half mark, so we got anything interesting over in the chat, or?
Not too much railroady stuff. We're just rambling.
Anybody on the panel got anything else they want to wind up on?
Well, I was just going to show a couple of pictures since I think, was it Bruce that asked about the roadbed?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hang on. Come on. Okay. There's the stuff I use. Now that piece of track is just laid on top of that. But that's the stuff I use. It's called Wrap Tight. It's insulating foam tape. So it has glue on one side and it's meant to wrap around pipe to insulate it. But this stuff, because it's glue on one side, you can just lay it down and it will actually twist around curves. So it comes in a 2-inch wide, and I made myself a cutter so I can cut it the width of my ties only. And when it's done, it looks like this. So you can't tell it's there.
Picture didn't change.
It didn't change?
Or did it? I must be screen sharing somebody else. Who else is screen sharing?
Me.
Oh. I caught the wrong one. Alright, Ralph, let's...
Uh-oh.
You see the track?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what it looks like. Now that's my gauntlet track, but I'm talking about the ballast and so on. You can't see that tape. And that tape, the sound deadening features of that tape is amazing. So just something to throw out there.
Yeah.
And the stuff that Woodland Scenics makes is adequate. It's just that you have to apply a glue to get it to stick.
You still screen shared?
Yeah.
I stopped it.
Oh, okay. It's Bob that's screen shared.
Bob is, yeah. Yeah, I was just showing off my my first layout, since.
Yeah, 'cause that's when I saw it start screen sharing when.
So Newcastle over there was showing off his old HO thing. I should figure to show mine.
Yeah.
But you're not HO.
And that's the layout that made me go away from HO.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, I did do HO in the late 80s in a club environment. But
yeah, because right now you're just screen sharing the panel here.
Uh-oh, never mind. Let's go back. Right here. There we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. He's got hair.
Yeah, I know. It's scary.
How old are you there?
I
shouldn't ask that question.
17, 16, 17, something like that. 2 4x8 of plywood.
When I was 17.
That's about as far as I ever get in scenery too.
White?
Yeah, it gets a little white. That was the first scenery I've ever done in my life, was that. Using some, I don't know, I think I was using plaster of Paris and screen and newspaper and cardboard forms and everything else. I was playing with all sorts of stuff. To make some mountains. And it was all a Tycho layout.
Paper towels dipped in plaster.
Yeah, that kind of
Hey, careful, I still do that.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with
It works. It does work.
But Andy uses straight styrofoam and goop.
Yeah.
Well,
I would use
screen.
straight styrofoam. I'd use straight extruded foam too, but with the way my mountains are, I didn't figure a way to do it that wasn't going to cost me an arm and a leg in extruded foam. So I decided paper towels sounded, well, they didn't sound better. They just sounded cheaper.
Well,
I have all that stuff too, still.
I argue the thing I argue when it comes to plaster, either way, is not that it ends up with a bad result. You can get a great result with plaster. I don't have any argument with the end result. I just don't like working with it. It's messy.
Right. Well, I understand that.
It's messy and heavy and slow and blah, blah, blah. And I was making
That's
an argument.
the messy is the best part. That's where you get in there with your hands.
I get it. I get messy and dirty too, and I enjoy it. It's just as artistic and creative of an outlet, but not a train wreck. Pardon the pun. To actually do a little scenery, it doesn't have to be so messy. But my argument is 1x4s and plywood and power tools and sawdust and screen or lathing strips and all that other stuff. The amount of money it costs, the amount of tools it requires, the amount of skill, knowledge, and expertise that I know how to do as a carpenter, but still for a lot of people they don't. The things it takes to actually do that, and then the time consuming. How long would it take you to build a square 1x4 box? Let's compete and build a setup in the garage and build a 2x8 module, and you build your 1x4 frame, 1x3 frame, whatever, and you like put your piece of roadbed on risers, and you build your landing up, and you put plaster on it, and you let it set up, and all that stuff. I'll take some styrofoam, and that's my only tool. It's all I need. And I'll build absolutely everything on top of that roadbed and slap some, and I will be at dirt in that module inside of a couple hours. I will have a completely brown module with roadbed and scenery and slopes and undulations and dirt or leaf ground cover inside of 2 hours.
How come it's taking you so long?
Andy, we're talking about a nice module.
How come it's taking you so long to do the one that's on the wall?
I mean, I've got 2 years in 60 running feet of layout that has head lay track with individual tie plates and fish plates every scale 39 feet. Trees that take 8 hours a piece to make, and I've got over 70 of those trees. I've got 400 total trees on the layout. And I've done that.
But we're not talking the trees. We're just talking your landscaping, your the groundwork.
Yeah, but I went from not having those 2 modules to having those modules and tree covered in 2 weeks. Two new modules I added on. Modules were up and tree covered with roads on them and undergrowth and trees inside of 2 weeks. And that, and that's not working on it some evenings. That's just a few evenings. It not only is it cheaper, not as messy, requires no tools or necessary expertise to actually work with. It's infinitely faster. So cheaper, faster. The only thing you can argue is that the wood framing method is stronger if you ever decide to square dance on the layout. I don't really plan on doing that. So
I do.
Well,
I don't think it's all that much faster. Because if you're good in the shop, as you say you are, you can knock out the framework in no time whatsoever and have it all put together.
Sure. And
start building your groundwork.
You're right. I could carve the styrofoam. I could build a wood frame build a wood frame and stick the roadbed across this 2x8 module that we're talking about for our argument's sake. I could build that and get the roadbed in the same amount of time that I could carve the styrofoam and get the roadbed. The benefit is when I do that with the wood, I still got everything to build the substructure for that plaster, plus the plaster, plus everything goes on top of it. And when I get to that point with styrofoam, I am leaves away from, or dirt away from being there. I mean, it's so infinitely fast. But I know fast is not my favorite. Most of the things I do are not the fastest way to do things. But I love that with the framework, and it's infinitely light. I could carry my whole layout. If I broke my arm and had to move my layout, I could break down, take out, and carry my entire layout out to a U-Haul with a single arm not at one, but each piece to a U-Haul and relocate my layout to a new house. And I can do that inside of, I can have everyone in a U-Haul in an hour.
But you can't put it back up on the wall in the new house with one arm.
It'd be a little tough. I mean, yeah. Even get it down.
You gotta find the exact same size room.
But he's got to put the brackets up.
Yeah.
Or he'll use tripods to hold it up.
Yeah, I'll use tripods.
Camera tripods.
Well, that's how I'm playing about. See, and I need to be I've said this many times before, and I say it again. It's a shame that I went to school for architecture originally. I didn't finish that degree, but I went to school for architecture. I'm a computer guy by trade, but I cannot design the way I need to design to get the effect I want with my layout, to get these weird sight lines where you could stand and look 13 feet in one view on a 2-foot wide shelf. Because I've got a spot where you can stand and get a 13-foot depth of field. You know, as you turn your head, you look 7 feet one way, 7 feet the other way, and it's all scenery. You're not looking down. You know, I've got a lot of that. Everywhere you come to an interesting spot, and when you look to the right, you're not looking down into an aisle. I can take a camera and shoot it down the layout and not get an aisle in the view. It looks like the layout, the railroad is entirely encapsulated by the trees. I couldn't find my way to that design with the computer. So right now, that's why these are set up on tripod, because I need to see it in real person at eye level with stuff stacked on it and some boxcars set there so that I can design the sight lines. So I can design a track plan easy without doing that, but the sight lines are tricky.
Hey, John?
Hey.
It's so easy to get him going, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know you're doing it on purpose, Ralph. Doggone it. But
No, because it's filling time, and you're giving good points. I mean, what can I say?
No.
I mean, and it's not like I didn't.
But don't. The thing is, don't challenge me and say I can't do it.
I would totally.
I'll prove you wrong.
Well, I will totally set up for that. I'll go go up to the garage one day at the office, set the camera up, and
I think you guys need to save this for the Fine Scale show. We're gonna do a live draw.
Yeah, speed module building competition. I just got 4 sheets of 2-inch tires.
You know who will win that one? Miles.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I wouldn't try to speed build with that fella. I wouldn't put any 18-year-old I know doing anything up against Miles. That guy is fast as grease lightning. and to get as good a results as anybody else gets.
No, better.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. But he can in a tenth of the time. It drives me crazy. He's so hard to plan a show around because there's nobody. It's like, this is the thing we're going to do. This is what everybody else is going to do, and Miles is going to do these 16 other things. And let's just hope that he doesn't get those 16 done before we do the one we were going to try to show off.
Yep. Johnny, did we talk about my what do you call it? My rail car load?
No, we didn't.
In the last show? Okay. So can only hold it up. This is going to be a submarine, but it's going to be a carload on a depressed center flat car. I tried to find a reasonable depressed center flat car that had 4 trucks, but I was not willing to spend $90. To me, that's too much, and that was through Athearn. So I took apart one of these flat cars, which had the 4 trucks. I copied the idea from this one, which is a Bachmann one, only had 2 trucks, and I started to construct my own.
Yeah, it's looking good too.
And the fish does fit on there. It'll be sitting on proper blocks of wood.
You know what you should put on the bottom of that flat car?
What?
And maybe graffiti? Swimming with the fishes.
Yeah. Not bad.
I thought you were going to say seaweed.
So there's the 4-wheel trucks, or 2 trucks on the end.
Yeah.
That fit under there. So that's what I've been doing the last few nights while we've been chatting. And I think it's coming along well.
It is.
So that's carved out of a piece of wood. This was on a military magazine.
We get back up here.
The actual scale of it, mine is closer to this picture, but the actual scale in real life is probably sitting up there in 1/35 scale. So I brought it almost half for 187. So I carved it out of wood and styrofoam sheets and Bob's your uncle. Are you my uncle, Bob?
Looks good.
I'm somebody's uncle. Just not a monkey's uncle.
Oh, okay.
That's not what we heard, but okay.
I know the source of that too.
Huh.
His name's James.
Poor James, never here to defend himself.
Exactly.
Did you see?
To see what?
Alrighty. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Feels weird trying to run this thing on just one monitor. I'll tell you. But let me get over here and see if I can switch over to the splash page real quick. That come up on screen? It'll take a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, so there it is.
Alrighty. Well, let's say go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com, and there you can check schedules for all the shows. The Tuesday and Wednesday shows are 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Thursday and the Saturday once a month live show is 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So be sure to keep that in mind when you're looking at the schedules. I know it doesn't have the correct time up there on the website, but I don't have the power to be able to change that. So hopefully we'll get that changed someday to the right times. But also, while you're there, be sure and click on the email, sign up for an email notification when it comes out. And we've got the live show coming up this Saturday. Big Bill and Barry. Barry's at a train show this weekend and doesn't have a good internet connection, so I will be hosting that for, teching that for Bill, streaming the show for him and all. And we also have got the Fine Scale show coming up next Tuesday, the 22nd. So hopefully Andy's ready for that. Yeah, I see the head bobbing a little bit like, yeah, I think I am. I'm not sure, but
ready.
Yeah, but anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. I want to say thank you to everybody on the panel. And with that, we'll say good night. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you Saturday night. Bye.
Bye.